نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى صدق الله العظيم. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في مدح النبي الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا وشفيعنا ومولانا محمد بن بعد الجود والكرم وآله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم صلاة وسلاما عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. People today who are passionate about their deen, they're often talking about how the ummah is this way, the ummah is that way. You know, the ummah can't do this, the ummah can't do that. You know, they're talking about our community at large. I'm not talking about specifically us. People say that about us, right? They say, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. Where's our power? Where's this? Where's that? And they consider that it's strange. They consider these things to be strange. And they complain about these things. But if there's one thing you should know, it's that the only real strange thing you have to worry about, the only real strange thing, some of you might find this statement a little outrageous, but the only strange thing you will find amongst the community at large is the cacophony. Cacophony means like random noise. Is the random noise, the incoherence you will find amongst individual members of our community, individual Muslim people, with regards to Ahl Bayt Athhar, the household of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The household of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam in most of the other segments of our community, mentioning them, extolling their virtues, talking about who they are, this is virtually non-existent. I've heard all kinds of weird things, all kinds of outrageous statements. There are people who don't know that Hazrat Ali ibn Ali Talib radiallahu anhu was the cousin and son-in-law of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people will say, oh, wasn't that his nephew? There are some people who don't know that of the lineage of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his lineage only survives through one child of his, and that is Sayyidat al-Nisa Fatimah al-Zahra radiallahu ta'ala anha wa ardaha. There are some people who don't know how Hazrat Imam Hassan radiallahu anhu was martyred, that he was fed poison in Medina. There are some, and not enough people are standing up to talk about this. You know, if you look at the majority of the talks in English, I'm just talking about in the English language. Alhamdulillah, our ulama, shakarallahu sa'yahum, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward their efforts. In all the other languages, you can find detailed things. If you just look at the talks of Mufti Qamar al-Hassan in the past 10-15 years, you'll find all the details you need. I'm just talking about people in the English language. Right? This is an English speech. Let's talk about the English language. The majority of the subject matter you will find pertaining to Karbala are lessons to be learned from Karbala, or points about Karbala, or the fazail of shahadat. Those are all really important things. But there are very, very few talks, there are very few lectures in the English language that are talking to youngsters, that are talking to young people, that are discussing what exactly happened at Karbala. And as a result, the majority of our youth, if they have any idea actually what happened at Karbala, they don't consider this a tragedy as it is meant to be. So let's put it in perspective. In the Battle of Uhud, when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam's blessed face was injured and blood was falling from it, Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiallahu anhu, one of the Ashara Mubashara, he put his lips to the face of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam to stop the bleeding. They did everything they could to keep the blood from reaching the ground. They did everything they could to keep the blood from reaching the ground, because they knew, especially Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew, that if one drop of that blood spilled to the ground, adab would fall over the entire universe. And what happened in 61 Hijri? That same blood, because the same blood of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam flows through the veins of Hussein. That same blood was mercilessly shed. That same blood was absolutely spilled. The same blood by people who said the kalima was shed and allowed to soak into the ground that is Karbala. The head was severed from its body and the body was left on the ground to rot. Who is this Imam Hussein? This is the same Imam Hussein who's crying over the most trivial things, would deeply upset Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are many narrations. We're not going to get into too many details, but there are many narrations that narrate that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam would forbid Sayyidah Fatima from doing anything to make Hussein cry. He could not tolerate even the smallest discomfort to Sayyidina Imam Hussein. This is the same Imam Hussein when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in sajda, and not in a prayer alone, in a prayer in jamaat, in a prayer in congregation. He's leading the congregation, and Sayyidina Imam Hussein steps on his shoulders. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam remains in sajda so much that the Sahaba are thinking that maybe he's passed away. That's how long he remained in sajda. And after the prayer, they asked him what happened. And he replied, I didn't want to get up and disturb Hussein. Oh, kama qal sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is that same Hussein whose blood was spilled mercilessly in Karbala. It should take no reminder. It should be a no-brainer that this was indeed a tragic and traumatic event. So in the little time we have left, let's talk about it. Let's talk about a little bit of what happened before, during, and after. What we have to understand was the state of the Ummah in 61 Hijri. We had already dealt with traumatic events, starting with the Shahadat of Sayyidina Umar. Sayyidina Umar was martyred, he was stabbed 4 to 5 times while leading the Fajr prayers. After that, Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu was martyred. He was laid siege to. He was placed under house arrest by some younger people. And interesting to note that Hassanain Karimain radiallahu anhuma, Sayyidina Imam Hassan, Sayyidina Imam Hussein, they were actually guarding his door to keep them from getting inside. They broke the roof, they came in, and they martyred Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan. Already 2 great Sahaba, 2 great traumatic things hit them. And what happened later, in the Khilafat of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, he was martyred by a Kharji, an extremist, by the name of Ibn Muljam. He was struck in the face with a poisoned sword. That's one of the reasons that we add the honorific at the end of his name. Karramallahu wajhahu al-kareem. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honor his blessed face. This is what happened with Sayyidina Ali al-Murtaza radiallahu ta'ala anhu. After that, the Khilafat fell to Hazrat Amir Muawiyah. And it was during this time that Sayyidina Imam al-Hassan radiallahu anhu was martyred. So many things are happening that have so many great personalities that are loved by the people. They have already met with very traumatic events. The Ummah is already very traumatized by this. And so when Hazrat Amir Muawiyah is the Khalifa, there is finally a little bit of stability. What happens next is what is the problem. After Hazrat Amir Muawiyah, his son Yazid is made Khalifa. So not enough people know about who Yazid is. First of all, you cannot call him a tabi'i. You cannot call him a sahabi because he was not alive. He was born in the year 25 Hijri. He never got to see or meet or even smell the Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's not considered tabi'i because of his practices. He is not reported to have read any kind of salat. The one time that people saw him come in for Fajr Salat, he came in drunk and he prayed 4 rakat instead of 2. He was known for taking liberties. He felt that his father was Khalifa, he could do whatever he wanted. This is the difference between Ahl Bayt Athhar and other human beings. Ahl Bayt Athhar, they have the true inheritance of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they never act like they're just heirs. They act with full responsibility. So when Yazid takes power, he bribes some people to take bayat with him. He forces and compels other people to take bayat with him. The rest of the areas surrounding they just follow suit. There's a leader, so they just follow suit. This is just the status quo. Yazid was introducing acts or introducing laws, introducing practices into the community that were totally against Islam and the Sharia. He made it permissible, for example, for brothers and sisters to marry one another. Many, many other things. If you look at any historian, any major historian, they will tell you that within 100 years, if these policies had continued, this religion would not be what it is today. This religion would have been totally destroyed. So, Yazid, in order to cement his power, he needed bay'at, he needed an oath of allegiance from at least 4 people. And who were they? Hazrat Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu. He's the son of Hazrat Zubair ibn Awam. He was the first Muslim boy to be born in Medina after Hijri. And he, in later times, he would become the Amir of Mecca. The next person was Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar should need no introduction. He's the son of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. He was considered a great faqih and a great muhaddith and a great teacher. His teaching circles were the largest at that time. Also, who we needed was Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas was considered Tarjuman al-Quran. This was the laqab, the title given to him by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made a special dua for Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, that the Quran opens up for him. He also had a lot of teaching circles. And finally, the main person whose bay'at he needed was Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein. So, one of the authorities in Mecca, who's under Yazid, he asked Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein to take bay'at with Yazid. And instead of taking bay'at with Yazid, Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein takes his whole family. His family consisted of 2 wives, 4 children, many, many others, his half-brothers. He packs up and he heads for Mecca, Makkah Mukarramah. Now, what is happening in this time is that Kufa was the land where Sayyidina Amir Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu was at one point Qadi, he was the judge, and when he was Khalifa, the center of power, the center of his Khilafah was in Kufa. Now, these people considered themselves to be lovers of Sayyidina Amir Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu and his children. And so they had written, it's reported, thousands and thousands of letters were written to Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein because they opposed Yazid. So they said, come to Kufa, establish yourself here. We would like to support you. At first, Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu does not pay any mind to what's happening. And when the letters continue to pour in, finally he sends his cousin, Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil, to Kufa to assess the situation. Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil was the cousin, means that Sayyidina Aqil and Sayyidina Ali were brothers. They were full brothers, they were both children of Abu Talib. So Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil goes to Kufa to assess the situation. Now when he assesses the situation over in Kufa, he finds that people are more than willing to support, more than willing to help, more than willing to do whatever it takes. And so they all take bay'at at the hands of Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil radiallahu ta'ala anhu writes to Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein saying, everything is fine here, you should come. So Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam, that's one of the famous names of Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein, Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam, the Imam of high rank, the Imam of high status. Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam, from Mecca, after performing the Hajj, he packs up with his family and he makes way for Kufa. Now, what's happening during his journey is that Yazid finds out about what's happening and he replaces the governor with a man called Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad was probably one of the major players of this story, in that he himself, the atrocities that were committed on this day were committed by his hand. What he does is, in order to keep the people unaware of his presence, he veils himself, he covers his face, he walks into the city, he walks into what's called the Darul Imara, the the area, the castle from which the governor rules, and he reveals his face to the current governor and says, I'm in charge now. After this, he starts intimidating the people, saying, Yazid's army is behind me, people will come and kill you, you're going to meet with fire and death. You should break this bay'at with Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil. Break this bay'at with Muslim, be on this side. He was spreading all kinds of lies. These people, he said, Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil radiallahu anhu was promoting difference in the ummah, ma'adallah, that he was supporting, that he was being a rebel, ma'adallah. You can only be a rebel after you accept somebody's authority and then break it. If you never accept somebody's authority, then you can't be considered a rebel, according to the laws at that time. So what happens is, the situation overnight changes to where Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil would have led the Fajr prayer, and almost the entire city was praying behind him. And by the time he finished the salam, nobody was left. Everybody, with their tails between their legs, they walked away like nothing happened. Now, Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil is considered public enemy number 1. Ibn Ziyad puts out basically a bounty on his head. Anybody who catches him will get this much reward from me. The details, inshallah, Mufti Qamar al-Hasan will explain to you. So in this time, someone named Hani ibn Urwa decides to help Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil and try to hide him. But Ibn Ziyad has spies everywhere. And so Hazrat Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil is caught. He is taken to the roof of the Darul Imarat, the castle from which everything is ruled, and he is martyred there. He is slain there, his body is thrown from the roof, his bones are crushed, and he's laid out in the town square for everybody to see. Now, during this time, Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam is already moving towards Kufa. There are about 72 people in his group. Those consist of his immediate family, his children, his wives, his half-brothers, and other supporters and friends. Now, what's happening is Yazid and Ibn Ziyad gather an army of 22,000 people. 22,000 people to meet Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein right before Kufa. And this just happens to be what we call Maidan-e Karbala, the field of Karbala. So this is another outrageous accusation that people talk about. People talk about this like it was an even fight, like there was some kind of rebellion happening. 22,000 people versus 72 people who did not come to fight is not a fight. That's called a massacre. That is called a slaughter. This is not some kind of even kind of battle. Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam and his family, they did not go to Kufa to fight. They went to Kufa to assess the situation, to be with the people, to meet their needs, and if necessary, stand up to someone through tyranny and injustice was ruling Muslim lands with non-Muslim policies, who was introducing disgusting practices. So the two groups meet, and one by one, because negotiations are happening. Negotiations happen a little bit. There is one character, Amr ibn Sa'ad. He is the son of the famous Sahabi, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. And Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas is the one whom in the battle of Uhud, Nabi Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, keep firing arrows. Ya Sa'ad, may my parents be sacrificed for you. This was said for no other Sahabi. He is considered one of the Ashara Mubashara, Sayyidina Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. But his son proved to establish himself as more of a slimy character. He was on his way to a place called Ray, which is now currently known as Tehran in Iran. He was going for the governorship of Ray. And so he stopped in Kufa. Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam is on his way. He doesn't know. Ibn Ziyad stops Amr ibn Sa'd and says, take your army and fight Hussein. Amr ibn Sa'd at first says no. But then Ibn Ziyad threatens to take away the position of governorship. And so out of love for that governorship, he says, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so first Amr ibn Sa'd decides to try to negotiate with Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam. And Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam, at first he says, at least let me go and speak. We can talk about this. But of course, Ibn Ziyad and the people who are around him said, no, let us fight, let us kill him. And so after a few days, in which they blocked off the river, they were on the banks of what was the Euphrates River. Now the river is dried up on that side. If you go there, there's nothing but empty desert. The river Euphrates is very far from that encampment. But in those days, it was quite close to where they were camped. And so what happens is, out of those 22,000 people, 4,000 people are posted along the banks of the river. And they forbid the camp of Sayyidina Imam Hussein to get any water from the river. And so they slowly start to starve the Ahl Bayt Athar. Slowly, whatever water they have in their water skins is slowly depleting. There are women and children with them in the company. It's not just men. There are women and children. All the water is going to feed them. They have been hungry and thirsty for days on end. And finally, the camp of Ibn Ziyad and Yazid begin to fire arrows upon the encampment of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam. And one by one, every member of the company asks the permission of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam to go out and fight. This includes the two sons of the sister of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam, Bibi Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Bibi Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, they had 4 children, of which 3 survived. Those are Imam Al-Hassan Al-Mujtaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Imam Ali Maqam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Al-Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and Bibi Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha. And so Bibi Zainab is also with Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam radiallahu ta'ala anhuma during this expedition. And so her 2 sons, who are named Aoun and Muhammad, they are asking to go and fight. They're 13 years old and they ask to go and fight. Even they are mercilessly killed. So the teenagers who are part of this encampment go out and fight, they're killed. The adults are obviously killed. One of the half-brothers of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam, who Sayyidina Ali named after his uncle Abbas. Sayyidina Abbas goes out to fill the water skins. He pushes his way past the army. It's a very famous story. He's known as Alamdar, the person who holds the flag. So he's on his way back after getting the water. He's holding the flag. His arms are chopped off. He holds the flag with his teeth. And only after, he doesn't come to fight. He only came to get the water for the children. When the water sack is torn, he turns back to fight. And then he is martyred. So there's a fierce loyalty to Imam Hussein that's not found in any other leader of the time. Because the people who are fighting against Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein, even though they said the kalima, they were fighting against the idea that was Hussein. They wanted to dispel this myth that there were still good people in the world. They wanted to dispel the myth that there were still people who stood up for haqq and stood against batil. They wanted to erase or eradicate the concept that there could be a just rulership. Because all of these qualities were found in Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein. Sayyidina Muslim ibn Aqil, when he was martyred, let's backtrack. Ibn Ziyad offered to let him go if he cursed Hussein and Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. But what did he say? He said, by Allah, there is no one on this earth alive who is greater than Hussein. So this fierce loyalty was what incited a lot of jealousy in their hearts. They really wanted to get rid of this. And so one by one, they eliminated these people. Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam is reported to have 4 children. 3 of them are famously narrated. And they are commonly known as Ali al-Akbar, Ali al-Awsat, and Ali al-Asghar. Ali al-Akbar was a youth of maybe 19 years old. And Ali al-Awsat was a little younger than that. And Ali Asghar, the smallest Ali, he was maybe a baby of not more than a year old. So Imam Ali Maqam gives his son, Ali al-Akbar permission to fight. He's a 19-year-old boy. He issues the war cry, which goes along something like, do you know who we are? We are the family of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quran was revealed in our house. His blood flows through our veins. If anyone has the courage to fight, if anyone has the indecency to fight, then come forward. And in single-hand combat, no one was coming forward. One by one, people were coming and being struck down by Sayyidina Ali al-Akbar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Until finally, they just decided to gang up on him and kill him. And these 72 people who are being martyred, who are they being buried by? They're being buried by Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam. He's digging the graves with his own two hands and burying the people. And the women in the company, he's going and advising them to have sabr and patience. Finally, there's no water left. And the baby Ali Asghar is crying. And so it's said to him, show them the baby, maybe they'll give some water. Maybe they'll have mercy on the baby and give some water. So just at the women's behest, he takes the baby out, Ali al-Asghar. He holds the baby up to the crowd, the soldiers saying, if not for my sake, at least give this baby some water. Someone fires an arrow into the throat of the baby. And the blood spills into Imam Ali Maqam's hands. And Imam Ali Maqam at all this time is having patience. He's showing the rest of the world how to deal with affliction. And it's reported that Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam said that, Ya Allah, you've taken this much, keep taking until you are satisfied. O kama qal, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And finally, when there is no one left to fight, Ali al-Awsat is suffering a severe paralysis type of disease. He can't get up and move. And so he wants to fight, but he is unable. The last man left is Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam. He goes out and fights in single-handed combat. One by one, people cannot stand up to him. He is hungry and thirsty, and the people cannot stand up to him. So what they do is they start firing arrows at him. From afar, they start piercing him with spears, until finally, he's not falling from that either. It's reported that he had over 100 different kinds of wounds on his body. That's an understatement. And finally, it's not the wounds or the fatigue of battle that causes Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam to lay down his father's sword. It is the fact that the prayer time has come in. And so he stops the fight and he goes and he decides and he prays. And this is the chance that they seize. While he's in sajda, they cut off his head. They severed the head from the body while he was in sajda. And so some people say, it's narrated by some people, that this is a sajda that never ended. This is a sajda that goes on to this day. This is an ibadah that goes on to this day. So very quickly, this was in a very small nutshell. The severity of this is lost upon the rest of us right now, because we're talking in very small terms. But what happens is, after this, it's not over yet. What they do is they take Sayyidina Imam Zain al-Abidin, Sayyidah Bibi Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, the rest of the family, the rest of the company, they tie them with bonds, they display them, they parade them through the streets and the city, and they plant the blessed head of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam on a pike. And what are they doing? In their khutbahs, they're praising Allah for giving them this victory. Mahadallahi Rabbil Alameen. There was one narration where the procession was passing by, and as the blessed head of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam passed by, a man was reading Quran. He was reading from Surah Al-Kahf, and he was reading about how the Ashab al-Kahf, the story of the Ashab al-Kahf was one of the amazing stories. And then it's narrated that the blessed head of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam spoke at that time. And he told the man, this is what you think is amazing? You think the Ashab al-Kahf are amazing? The family of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has been slaughtered and is paraded before you, and you don't think this is amazing? Finally, this company reaches Syria, Damascus. This is where Yazid is based, in Damascus. He takes the head and he starts playing with the blessed lips and the teeth of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam. And finally someone stands up and says, don't you have any shame? These are the lips that touched those of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Finally, after some time, this company is allowed to depart. They are escorted back to Medina by Sayyidina Nu'man ibn Bashir, Sahabi. They are escorted back to Medina. People are waiting for the Ahl Bayt. But remember, there's no internet, there's no phone calls this time. nobody knows the news of what's happened in Karbala. Nobody knows the news of what's happened in Karbala. So when the Ahl Bayt, the remaining members of Ahl Bayt come back, they see that everyone has passed. They know, they understand what's happened. Sayyidina Imam Zainul Abidin relates to them everything that happened. The narrations that we have are almost exclusively from two sources. They are from Sayyidina Imam Zainul Abidin, who is Ali al-Awsat. His laqab, his title is called Zainul Abidin, the adornment of the worshippers. And Sayyidah Bibi Zainab radiyallahu ta'ala anha. They relate to them what has happened. The Zawja of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Umm Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha, she is still alive to see these days. People hear this, they are outraged by this. News spreads. This is an outrage. News spreads to Makkah and Medina of what has happened. They take up this call. They break their allegiance to Yazid. And so what does Yazid do in order to try to cow them back into submission? He attacks the cities of Makkah and Medina. As if the martyrdom of Sayyidina Imam Hussein wasn't enough, he attacks the cities of Makkah and Medina. The battle in Medina is called Yaum-e-Ashura, the day of the lava tracts, because Medina was flanked by two tracts of lava stones. It's reported that Yazid allowed, or he commanded, the horses to be put in Masjid al-Nabawi. He treated the masjid like a stable house. For 3 days there was no namaz, there was no prayer that was prayed in Masjid al-Nabawi. A very famous Sahabi and narrator of hadith, Sayyidina Sa'id ibn Musayyab, he had to feign insanity so that they wouldn't kill him and remove him from the masjid. Chaos, absolute chaos. And what happened in the siege, finally these people are repelled. They go and attack Makkah now, the army of Yazid. And these people are repelled from Medina, they attack Makkah. Ultimately, alhamdulillah, they are repelled by Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. But not before they set fire to the Kaaba. So, the actions of someone who has killed a descendant of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the actions of someone who has attacked the city of Medina Mubarakah, the actions of someone who has attacked Makkah Mukarramah and has burned the Kaaba, these are not actions of a tabi'i. These are actions of a fasiq. These are actions of a corrupt person. This rest of the story is very long, but understand this. This event, this Karbala event, was so shocking. It was what you can say, the catalyst that opened the eyes of the ummah. When the rest of the ummah opened their eyes to this, they found the strength and the conviction within themselves to repel this evil ruler. They found the conviction within themselves to repel batil and establish haqq. And it is from this sacrifice of Imam Hussein, a selfless sacrifice of Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein, that the Islam we know today is still intact. Take as many lessons as you can from this story. Learn this story in more detail. Understand the pain and suffering that those 72 people had to go through. Understand the sacrifice that has been made.